All right, let's dive into a productivity system that's all about bringing some serious calm to the chaos of your to-do list. It's called Zen to Done.
Okay, let me ask you something. Does your day ever just feel like a total tidal wave of tasks, notifications, and urgent requests all flooding in at once? Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. It's that feeling of constantly treading water, just trying to keep your head above a never-ending to-do list.
It all starts with this feeling of just overwhelm. Emails are pinging, messages are popping up. Your brain is basically juggling like a dozen open tabs before you've even had your first coffee. And every single new task just feels like another weight being loaded onto your shoulders.
And that overwhelm, it pretty much immediately turns into clutter. And hey, I'm not just talking about a messy desk here. I'm talking about mental clutter. You've got a dozen half-finished ideas, forgotten promises, and these vague goals all shouting for your attention. It's basically impossible to focus when your mind feels like a super noisy, crowded room.
So what happens when you're totally overwhelmed and surrounded by all that clutter? Well, you fall right into the classic trap, procrastination. I mean, when you don't even know where to begin, it just feels so much easier to not start at all, right? So you end up scrolling on your phone, organizing a drawer, doing literally anything except the work that actually matters.
And this whole cycle, that, my friends, is what we call the productivity trap. You're busy, for sure, answering emails, jumping on calls, checking off all the little things, but then the day ends and you look back and think, what did I actually do today? You don't feel like you've made any real progress on the stuff that truly counts. But what if there was a better way? A much, much simpler way? Well, this is where Zen to Done, or ZTD for short, comes into the picture. It's a system that's not built on more complexity or more fancy tools. Nope, it's all about simplicity and focus.
So what is this thing exactly? Well, Zen to Done is a productivity system from Leo Babauta, and its entire goal is to help you build these really simple but super powerful habits. The kind of habits that turn all that overwhelming chaos into calm, focused action. The key words here are consistency and getting into a state of flow. And this is really where ZTD is so different from other productivity systems out there. Instead of those crazy, intense bursts of effort that just lead to burnout, ZTD is all about small, consistent, daily habits. It tells you to ditch the fancy, complicated software and just use minimalist tools, maybe even just a simple notebook. It's not a random collection of tips, it's one single, clear system.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we put it into practice? ZTD is built on 4 core habits. These are the absolute foundation of the entire system. So let's break them down.
All right, first up, capture. This means every single idea, task, or reminder gets dumped into one trusted place. Could be a physical inbox, a notes app, whatever works for you. Just get it out of your head. Step 2 is clarify. You look at each thing you captured and super quick, like 5 seconds or less, you decide the very next action. That's it. Third, you organize. Once a week, you're going to review your goals and set just 3 to 5 key priorities for the week. And finally, number 4, do. You pick one of those important tasks and you give it your full, undivided attention. No multitasking.
And this right here, this really gets to the heart of ZTD. It's not about pulling 14-hour days just to feel caught up. No way. It's about the incredible power of small, daily habits that build up this massive momentum over time. And why does that matter? Well, because intensity just leads to burnout. But consistency? That builds a rock-solid foundation you can count on, day in and day out.
Now, to back up these 4 core habits, there are a few other key practices. You've got the weekly review, which is basically a meeting with yourself to make sure you're still on track. Then there's habit stacking. This one's great. It helps you build momentum by linking a new habit to something you already do, like you could process your inbox while you have your morning coffee. And of course, sticking to minimalist tools keeps the system itself from becoming just another source of clutter. So when you start putting all of these pieces together, something really cool starts to happen. A real transformation begins. You actually start moving from that feeling of constant chaos to a place of calm, focused productivity.
And the impact is huge when you start putting these habits into practice. Your stress levels, they naturally start to drop because you finally have a system you can actually trust. And you know what happens with less stress? You get more focus. And with more focus comes this genuine, real sense of accomplishment at the end of the day. It feels amazing.
There's this quote from the source material that just nails it.
The idea is that ZTD isn't about trying to find some magical source of motivation out of thin air. It's about creating a clear, uncluttered path for yourself. Because when the next step is super obvious and your mind is clear, inspiration and action, they just follow, naturally.
So, when it all comes down to it, Zen to Done is so much more than just a set of rules. It's really a way to build a mindset of flow. You know, that state where you're completely immersed and energized by what you're doing, and progress feels almost effortless. That, right there, is the Zen in Zen to Done.
And that brings us to one last really important question for you. Look, you don't need to implement this entire system overnight. That's not the point. Just ask yourself, what's one tiny, tiny habit you can start today? Seriously. Maybe it's just capturing one single idea in a notebook instead of trying to juggle it in your head. Because with ZTD, all the big changes, they always start small.